I think unlike the second film, Pete doesn't do a recap at the beginning. He just hits the ground running, and if you're not up to speed on what's happened, you really have to chase the story. And I really like that. I think at this point in the game, you really need to sit through at least one of the movies or have an idea of what's going to happen. But yeah, there's so much story left to tell, and one of the things that Tolkien does is to get rid of the dragon pretty quickly, and Pete does it in spectacular fashion. Yeah, it's a tricky one because, we've spent three movies and effectively 3 years as fans getting to know all of the characters, caring about the characters, and there's a lot of characters to care about. So in that final battle, every character has to have their moment, and we have to see them at the final stage of their own story. And finding the mid movie climax of this film, when such a huge portion of it is the Battle of the Five Armies, is a tricky one. But I think it's something to do with Thorin's descent into the mountain, and when at the point at which he refuses to come out. I'd forgotten that was in the film. Actually, I mean, by that point, I was like, "Oh, the battle has started, and they're going to fight to the death." And then that started to happen. I was like, "Of course, I forgot. I forgot that Thorin fights and stands, on the ice at the end in the last moments, and strikes at Azog." It was a tough one to shoot. It was the end of all of the filming. I was physically and mentally exhausted just from the process of filming, and I had to bring Thorin up to his highest physical point that we'd ever been to at the point when I was probably at my lowest. But that's the challenge. So many, but I have to say, I think, having with what you just said, I think the very last day, the last frame that I shot, when Pete said, "Okay, that's a wrap. That was your last shot," and knowing that I got through it, and knowing, because in my head I was thinking, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'll get to the end. And then when you know that you've got it and it's in the can, it was a really great moment. Yeah, it was. I think it was strategically engineered so that that would be my last shot, and it's the moment where Thorin has to make a crucial decision about the outcome of that fight. Yeah, I've never played a role quite like this. I mean, in terms of the transformation of the character, the journey of the character, and to get to play one single character in one story arc over three huge movies was, you know, there's a lot of Thorin that by the end of it, you know so much about him in a way that you'd never get to know another character.